Yes, live, not from New York, but beautiful downtown Burbank, to borrow a phrase from a different form of programming. This is indeed the Bladtcast, and straight off the bat, right up front, I want to apologize to all of you for neglecting you to some extent over really the last couple of months. Episodes have been sporadic, but I always tell you, I'm doing a lot of other things that aren't necessarily the Bladtcast. I've got stuff on Geekscape. I've got Who Are These Broadcasters Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on the Who Are These Podcast YouTube channel. Also exists as an audio podcast. But I also moderated 5 panels at Comic-Con Revolution in Ontario, California. Some of those will actually be inserted as future episodes of the Bladtcast. And I feel like I've righted the ship. Waters are a little calmer, and some other boating metaphors. So we're able to kind of get back on track for some of the shows that I've wanted to do for a while. We've got a Mandalorian show coming up within the next week, and there's now 3 documentaries I want to talk about because we've been meaning to talk about the John Candy one, the Chevy Chase one, and now we have this great Martin Short one. So all of this, just like, subscribe, whether you're watching this on YouTube or just listening to the audio version, always subscribe. We are going to talk about late night. Specifically, our starting point, our jumping off point is going to be the Lorne Michaels documentary, which was released theatrically, but very shortly thereafter available via streaming. And it is from Morgan Neville, who did the Fred Rogers documentary. Now, not the Mr. Rogers movie starring Tom Hanks. So Lorne, the man who made Saturday Night. And if I'm going to talk about nighttime television, specifically Saturday, one of the people I always need to have by my side is our friend Farad Muhammad. How are you, sir?
Sim Salabim. I am doing well. Question, how about yourself?
I'm doing great. And, I always like to have these late night conversations with you. There's a few things that we have to talk about outside of this film, this documentary, and also this 51st season of Saturday Night Live, which there's some speculation about what might be in store for next year. I want to get your thoughts, and anybody who is watching, please feel free to chat. We do read the free chat on this show. You don't have to pay to have your comment read. However, I do want to start with Lorne, the man who made Saturday Night, and we're starting with Lorne Michaels. And, listen, for the way that this was marketed was the first, last, and only documentary there will ever be about Lorne Michaels. And, he at times is very clearly kind of uncomfortable with the whole idea. And even when he's giving useful commentary and insight, he's like, well, this will probably be cut from the film. And you're like, well, no, actually it won't. Just give me your overall thoughts on Lorne, the man who made Saturday Night, the film.
Yeah, I had an excellent time watching it. Granted, I did read the Lorne biography by Susan Morrison like about a year or so ago after the 50th season ended. So a lot of what was told in that book was also kind of told in the documentary. So it's kind of like the whole deal with the movie Man on Wire, which was about Philippe Petit's wire walk across the Twin Towers, and the movie The Walk, which was like not a fictionalized version, but it was a docudrama about it,
sure.
Or a biopic about it that was done by Robert Zemeckis. It does cover some of the same beats, but it is great to see it, on the big screen where I saw it over at the City Walk Theater, and along with an audience of other people that were also there to enjoy the movie. And I mean, there were a lot of references to previous seasons of SNL. There were a lot of clips, or a lot of there were some details about it that there were some details about Lorne that were not in the biography that I thought was really enjoyable. We got to see his home in Maine. We got to hear more about his work with the news show. Although with the news show, I think you also read about that in the documentary. But no, overall, I thought it was an excellent documentary, and that Morgan Neville did a very, very brilliant job with that there.
Yeah, and I think that when you have someone who's not being difficult as a subject of documentary, but someone who feels like, I'm not quite sure why you want to do this. What is there about me? What are you going to get? Right. I think it's a little bit of an uphill battle, but I did learn things. There's a lot of what is covered in this documentary. I was like, I think I knew that after I got the People magazine that came out after the 15th anniversary. Yeah, that's right. That's a little bit of a flex. I have that. I should have actually brought it with me so I could hold it up. Yeah, so we'll dive into some of the specifics. We'll talk more about Lorne in general, the man, and of course the show. But if we're talking about the man, the myth, the legend, of course, we're bringing up Mr. David Brody. How are you, sir?
Good evening, gentlemen. Sorry I'm tardy for the party, so to speak.
No problem.
That's all right. We're just getting things going, and I wanted to just kind of start off big picture with this documentary, Lorne, the man who made Saturday Night. What I know you saw it a few weeks ago, Brody, but does anything stick with you as like, oh, that's actually something I didn't necessarily know beforehand?
Well, you know what? I enjoyed the human side of him, watching him go to dinner and just be like, you only see Lorne on the set. You only see Lorne as part of Saturday Night Live, and to see him in Maine or, at a restaurant, it's not what I'm used to seeing. You never see Lorne doing anything but SNL. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was a nice reminder that he's not just part of the furniture there. He actually has a life, and and to see that I forgot that he did a show after Saturday Night Live during the Joe Piscopo years, that he was doing something else. I was so into SNL that during the Gene Domanian years, I guess is what it was.
Domanian and Ebersol.
Ebersol during most of them. Yeah, Ebersol with the more successful tenure for sure. But
right.
Yeah, it's the same era though, of course.
I was still into watching Tim Kazurinsky and Mary Gross and Denny Dillon. And so for me and Ann Risley, and so I remember those casts. I didn't remember that. I didn't know at the time living it that Lorne left and was doing something else.
Right.
To me, it was the original cast left, and now there's a new cast. Lorne wasn't Lorne to me back then. So this was an interesting look at that time, seeing it without Lorne. Now that I know who Lorne is and what Lorne means to that show, it still bothers me that they really pay no attention to that era, even though it was an important part of the history of the show.
Sure. And Gary Kroger would agree with you. He's fairly outspoken about it. I do think that since that first 15th anniversary, which was really only, a few years removed from that, they definitely have done a little bit better. They've had clip packages, they've involved, it doesn't hurt that, Julia Louis-Dreyfus went on to be on two of the biggest shows and The New Adventures of Old Christine. Let's not forget that. So, it's sort of, and of course, from that era is, of course, Martin Short and Billy Crystal.
Eddie Murphy.
Well, Eddie Murphy sort of, the other part, but they always wanted Eddie Murphy, but he wasn't interested. I think it was the 15th anniversary where they're listing everybody who's going to be there. And I think Don Pardo says, Eddie Murphy's entourage. Because I thought that was a little nice tongue in cheek. And look, I think that that era, let's say from 1981 to early 1985 was at least batting 500. It was a little uneven, but what era of the show isn't,
Exactly.
And I think that, taking some time to, recognize it. But obviously this documentary can't do that. But I do think that, they've had some of them. I've told the story before, and I think I told it with the two of you, but I was an NBC page working the 25th anniversary. And a few of us snuck up to the Rainbow Room for the reception there. Where we hadn't been invited, but we hadn't been not invited. So as an NBC page, I was there. And Mary Gross asked if she could just sit at my table for a minute because she really wanted to rest her feet. And I'm like, oh my gosh, of course you can. Because, it's like she was on the cast. Of course you can. You know what I mean? And it was almost like, oh, we can't believe we're here. Also, fun fact that day, Victoria Jackson told me she was so nervous. She felt like she was going to throw up. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. We liked her back then for the most part. In 99, we still liked her.
Yeah, no Gail Mathias stories you could share with us?
No, I didn't see Gail Mathias, and Charlie Rocket was still with us, but
Yeah.
I don't even know if he was there. I know Denny Dillon was there, but I don't think they did anything with her, which is funny because I know Denny Dillon from Dream On,
Yes, that was the one thing
HBO
she did after
show,
that.
yeah.
Yes.
But I think it's interesting because you brought it up, Brody, but Farad had mentioned it in passing. I had never seen any clips from the new show, which
Exactly.
is
The
the
clips
show
from the
he
new
did.
shows, yeah.
Yeah, I had never seen those clips. I guess they're out there. I don't know. I mean, maybe you got to go to the Museum of Radio and Television to actually watch them, but I had just never seen any of it. And you kind of get that feeling of, it's like, it's just a little bit off the mark or whatever. And I love hearing everybody talk about how terrible it was to work on that show. And, I think the biggest mistake, of course, is when he comes back, he wants to mostly be hands off. And
The worst season.
he's got Franken and Davis and some other people. I think even Michael O'Donoghue was back for a little while. Because Terry Sweeney talked about the very homophobic things that Michael O'Donoghue said to him. And Terry Sweeney, I always, when you see clips from that season, his Nancy Reagan's amazing. I love his Nancy Reagan, and
I think someone recommended that he should play Mary Todd Lincoln and Mary on Broadway, but yeah.
That's right. So so it's interesting to kind of see that stuff, and it's almost like Lorne might be a little bit more humbled after the new show, and then the idea of like going back to SNL, what had been 5 years, and of course I've known this for all the way back to that 15th anniversary. Those 5 years that Lorne didn't do it, that's actually the crazy part, to imagine him not doing the show, the idea that he walked away from it, because when you see how much a person of routine he is and how much a part of his life the show is. And the popcorn was always going, by the way. That's something that I knew. And Spade used to refer to the 3 female assistants outside of his office as the Lornettes.
Yes.
And I always enjoy getting that side of the stories. But I like when the cast members are all trying to figure out what they know about him. And even somebody like Seth Meyers, who's known him for like 25 years, really doesn't know a lot. I think, was it Sarah Sherman? Is like, I think his favorite band is Nirvana.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's no way that's true. I was like, I like that she thinks it, but what did you think sort of about the human side, Brody? And in a moment, I'll ask you the same thing. Just the fact that the human side exists, but it seems to be complete. It's almost like Severance. He like walks into 30 Rock. He doesn't even remember his private life, Brody.
Yeah. Again, it was weird seeing any private life for him.
Yeah.
But I watching this documentary and watching the SNL movie that we watched, I can't imagine this man walking away from that show for 5 years. Like it makes it hard to believe that he was able to function. Look, you leave for a year, you go on vacation, you take some time, maybe you get 2 years out of it. 5 years on a show he created, and he says he didn't watch it, he wasn't part of it, he tried to do other things. It's mind-boggling to me. That was the thing that I sat there in the movie theater, and I'm like, how did this man, who is so obsessed, here we are 50 years, of television, and he walked away for 5 years. Whatever anger, whatever break you needed, 5 years seems like a long, long time. And then, to come back in 85, which again, as I mentioned earlier, the absolute worst season of the show, in my opinion. The Rat Pack, was just
the Brat Pack.
Yeah.
The Brad Pack.
Yeah. Adding Anthony Michael Hall and Robert Downey Jr., it's all very unusual. Randy Quaid is there. Joan Cusack is there. Oh
yeah. Joan Cusack.
I once was at a gathering with, kids were off playing and a bunch of adults were talking, and conversationally somehow SNL was going on. This might've been closer to the 50th anniversary. And I mentioned that Joan Cusack was a cast member, and this one dad insisted that she had never been a cast member, and I kept my cool. But I did turn to my wife and I said, Heather, if I say someone was on Saturday Night Live, am I going to be right? She's like, oh yeah, he's going to know. And so he had to give it up, because, I mean, I know about the 4 weeks that Ben Stiller was a cast member, I mean, you have all those things. And listen, it is like comparing and contrasting different piles of horse manure. I would say the 1980 season is, of course, the worst part of the show's history because they get the rug pulled out from under them, because Gene Dumanian didn't understand comedy. There are moments in the 1985 to 86 season where you can laugh. And even if you want to throw out everything, you cannot discount a year of Dennis Miller at the Weekend Update.
That is true. Exactly.
And
yes.
having Charlie Rocket and Gail Mathias do Weekend Update is not the same. So, but there are not a lot of high points from either one of those seasons. But, what you ever see from the 1980 season are the update desk, Eddie Murphy, and like the zip up Adidas sweatshirts, just doing his oneers to the camera. Mm-hmm. And you see, what the future would hold. And the 85 season has a little bit of that because you're like, oh, Lovitz is great. Like, that's why at the fire at the end of the season, Lorne says, go head down to my limousine. Wait for me there, and he's like, what? It was only Lovitz. And, listen, the fact that everybody took that personally, I'm like, well, you should. It's pretty funny, though. But I think that season was kind of important because if it had done at least okay, he wouldn't have had to really resuscitate it and do what for me is my personal favorite cast is really the 86 through 91, when you have Carvey, Hartman, Yes Dennis, Lovitz, Jan Hooks, Victoria Jackson, Nora Dunn, and then they add on a little bit, they add on Mike Myers, and then the sort of the last year of that era is when you have featured players of, let's see, Tim Meadows, Chris Rock, Chris Farley, David Spade, who was just a writer. So I think that
Sandler would be in there too somewhere. Right?
Sandler does come in during that season. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important that season, and really, like I would say, like the 1988 season, I've seen the full version of every episode. Even the sketches that are at 12:50 or, shout out to the Central Time, 11:50 for Rod.
Of course.
Yes. Even those sketches, you're like, oh, it's not great, but it's still kind of funny. And to me, I mean, that's when they had Conan, they had Greg Daniels, they had Bob Odenkirk, they had everybody writing at that point. So I don't know that the show gets to be great again if it had been good in 85. Does that sound like a crazy idea for Rod? Or are you going to agree with me just because my name's in the title of the show?
No, I will definitely agree with you. I do think that it was definitely I just said definitely twice. It is a step in the right direction for the show. And especially for season 11, it does have like the initial framework of what the later seasons would provide for the show and the steps that it would take to become the institution that it is now. I think that if it fell off the wayside and really became really, really bad, if Lorne came back after the heavy hitter Ebersol year with Short and Crystal and the rest of them, that would have been disastrous for the show. And I think that Tartikoff would have canceled it almost immediately. But thankfully, given the fact that the show had some sort did have potential in it, which is something that NBC was priding itself on of doing. For example, Cheers was at it was like the lowest rated show on in its time slot or something like that. Or like the entire season, if I'm not mistaken. But they let it cook. They let it simmer a bit, and they were able to find their way. They were able to ingratiate themselves with the audience, and it became like the number one show after a bit. So I do think that they did see something in that 11th season that really propelled it to
and the instance you're talking about is you need somebody like a Brandon Tartikoff who believes in Cheers. You need actually Rick Ludwin who really propelled Seinfeld, which numbers based, should have been canceled when it was still the Seinfeld Chronicles. So,
Exactly.
you have all of these things that are going on. And my understanding, and I you read I have that Lorne book. I haven't actually finished it yet, but my understanding is that they did cancel it in mid 1986. And Lorne was like, no, you got to give me a little time. I know what to do. And he did. And he made the show great again. So yeah, which is fine to use that term when we're talking about SNL.
Exactly.
Brody, sort of your thoughts kind of on all of this, on what I think, again, we're splitting hairs. It is a terrible season, but is it necessary to lose 120 games so that you can then win the World Series, Brody?
Yeah, well, yeah, because in sports you get the first draft pick, right? You get so look, I think if the 85 season was a 7, they might have tried for a second season of it.
Yeah.
Right. And then we don't get the 86 cast. So yes, it needed to tank. Now, look, I would rather have seen the 86 season in 85, and then we wouldn't be having the conversation. We would have hit the ground running with the 86 cast in 85. 85 was a tragic, in my opinion. And I would still tell you, I would rather watch Joe Piscopo live Saturday Night Sports at the update desk than the cast of 85. Just me personally, I just had a terrible distaste for 85. But you're right. Without 85, you don't clean house except for Lovitz and bring in a whole new cast and rethink what you're doing. He needed to. He probably figured he was coming in on a white horse. He could do whatever he wanted. He never failed. And I'm going to try this and it's going to work. I'm going to reinvent the wheel. And he needed to fail.
Yeah.
I think he needed to say, oh, wait a minute. I'm not the hero. I can't with that. I can't.
Listen, you have some,
and the haircuts. Everybody's like, the head's going like this.
This is the cast photo from before it actually launched. Explaining for our audio audience, because you'll notice that Dennis isn't there. Because Lovitz was supposed to do Weekend Update. So that's when Dennis realized, like, oh, I guess I didn't get that. And he's talked about how he was doing Letterman, and a few weeks after this, but before the show premiered, and he went up to Lorne's office, and Lorne called him up and says, how would you like to do Weekend Update? And he said, I'd like that very much. All right, I'll see you on Monday. Very matter of fact, because that's Lorne. And but yeah, and I think that individually you could get, listen, I'm not even saying something crazy here. Individually, you could get a great performance out of any of them. I think, listen, Cousin Eddie, is Randy Quaid. All right. And listen, 16 Candles is very, very problematic now, but Anthony Michael Hall's in that. And that Downey Jr. guy, I guess he's a pretty good Iron Man, but just this combination I think you really nailed something that I hadn't thought about in all the years since I've been fascinated by how terrible this season was. The idea that it was like, well, yeah, I always find great talent and have put them in front of the camera, and it's all worked out in the end. So we'll probably just get it to work out like always. Let's go ahead and have dinner. Have the same pasta. And
I had to figure a Lorne impression would fit in there somewhere.
Somewhere. It's not the last money there.
What he did here was he found talent that existed already.
Yeah,
he didn't discover these. I mean, Lovitz, I guess, was not a name, and I don't know what Nora Dunn was doing. By the way, how did Nora Dunn survive? Because Lovitz was the guy who went down to the limo. Nora Dunn. Yeah,
survived. It was just Nora, Lovitz, and Dennis, and I think that they liked, the presence that she brought. I guess it was the Pat Stevens show,
that's what I'm thinking.
It has to
be, which did launch during that season, so it continued. It's like the only thing that continued from there. And Nora Dunn, certainly not my favorite cast member, but as a kid, I didn't necessarily get it. But when I was a little bit older, the Sweeney sisters with her and Jan Hooks, clang, clang, clang on the trolley, ding, ding, ding with the I'm like, oh my God, I love, like there's one where they're in prison. Yeah. So anyway, they definitely saw something but did she need to survive? I'm talking, of course, about, casting. Yeah. The fire. I don't know, but I guess that they saw something there. Lovitz was the no-brainer, and I think Dennis was helped by the fact that he was barely in sketches, and they were like, "Yeah, we need somebody to do the news. We've already gotten that." And much to Franken's chagrin, because that guy always felt like anytime there was an opportunity, he's like, "Oh, weekend update," and I'm like, "No, sorry, sorry, Franken."
Well, I don't want
There
to
you
put
go.
you on the spot, but does Dennis talk to you? Have you talked to Dennis about the 85 season?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, I talked to him. Actually, I'm trying to think of which time I did it. It was for Bladtcast 600. I talked to him and Lovitz about it extensively, actually, because I felt like people don't talk about it enough, and I didn't really grill him on it. I didn't really push him on stuff like that, but I very specifically wanted that to be the jumping off standpoint. And I circled back to it a couple times when we'd gotten away from it, because I really am just fascinated by that. Now, of course, our
Right.
visual audience is seeing a much better cast. This is probably 87 because Whitney Brown's over there in the corner, which he was a writer and featured player with The Big Picture as his recurring segment. Yeah, so I think that there's a level of like, wow, I'm on Saturday Night Live, and then it's like, wow, I'm on it when it's the absolute worst show on television.
When they talk about 85, do they do it like an athlete where they're like, "Hey, listen, we all tried hard, we did our best. It maybe didn't turn out what we'd hoped for," or do they say it was a train wreck? Those people shouldn't have been on the show.
No, because they have fond memories about some of them. And listen, you have one of the biggest movie stars in the world in that cast, and Robert Downey Jr.
Course, yeah.
So you know what I mean? It's like,
and the only one out of the cast that won an Oscar too. So yeah,
yeah,
Adam
listen,
Sandler didn't win an Oscar. Are we sure about that?
Well, no, that cast, that original cast. And sorry, just going to say hello to the great Jake Hudson. Thank you for liking and sharing, Jake. Very much appreciated. Thank you for being here while we talk about Saturday Night Live. I don't know, Jake, if you're a big Saturday Night Live fan, but if you have a favorite sketch or cast member, you go ahead and leave that in the comments. Yeah, look, the upheaval, the Lorne coming back is always fascinating, because that's really the Lorne that I knew, sort of what you were talking about, Fraud.
Mm-hmm.
Lorne was featured on the original show with the original cast if you were watching it in real time. I saw the half an hour Nick at Night reruns, and Lorne was almost never in those. Like him,
that's true. They usually cut those
him
out,
holding up the $3,000 check to the Beatles. And if you want to give less to Ringo, that's up to you. Just a fucking great line. Don't tell me that Lorne's not funny. All right. That's hysterical. And the fact that Lennon and McCartney were both considering heading down for that is very funny. So I never saw any of that stuff until years later. So I didn't realize what a part of that show he was, but they would feature him a lot, sort of the older Lorne, the silver-haired devil of Lorne Michaels. So I knew him when he was at that level, but as someone who is a fan of the show, I tell you, I don't know if you were, because Brody, you were watching during the early 80s, but when I first got, I think it was still called Ha. I don't know. When I first had what became Comedy Central, and there were like Saturday Night Live reruns on like multiple times throughout the day, and it was the 80 through 85 era. I don't know how many VHS tapes I just ran so that I could see these shows, because I had never seen them. I'd only ever heard of them. They were the things of legend. It was like, wait a minute, you mean that Bigfoot is being beamed into my house and I can hang out and watch him? So I checked it out, and I felt like I became fairly knowledgeable about that era. But it was all sort of like doing a research paper. But I love this 88 cast and the 86 onward cast. And it's crazy how long Lorne has been there since just that point,
Correct.
Yeah.
That point is 40 years. So 40 years uninterrupted. He had the first 5 years of some of the most groundbreaking television ever. And what I really enjoy about this documentary is kind of the mundane day-to-day of it. Here's what it's like. The stuff that I was fascinated by as an intern and later as an NBC page, just sort of seeing that board in Lorne's office. You don't get to linger, but you see it. It's right there.
Yeah.
And the board up, the bulletin board up in the writer's room, where you're like, look who's going to be hosting in 4 weeks. Do people even know this? So, look, I was very respectful, but they probably shouldn't have hired me as an intern because I was way too much of a fanboy. You understand what I'm saying, Farad, right? That would have been like if Conan was like, yeah, Farad, come hang out 5 days a week,
My hope is that the fanboyism would kind of subside after about a couple of years. But yes, I would definitely understand that.
Yeah. Well, I only had one semester, so I had to dial it back a little bit. But there were people in the research department where I worked that realized that I had this like Rain Man like knowledge because they would be talking about how they needed a sketch for whatever, and I was like, oh yeah, that's from William Shatner in Blind Justice. It's that episode. They're like, well, okay, thanks. They realized like just it was up here.
Yeah.
So all of this stuff, I want to kind of ask about if you personally, Farad, you feel like you learned anything about the day-to-day machinations of running that show. It was more to me like we saw things that we kind of knew, but we see like, I think it was Seth Meyers who says, if he goes, that something's really bombed, right?
Yes, everything that happens below the bleachers with Lorne looking at the dress rehearsal and everything like that. I have never seen that in play. Yeah, it was basically just you would see it in like very, very briefly in like the documentaries that were released again by Morgan Neville for Peacock around the 50th anniversary. In fact, this Lorne documentary was supposed to be the 5th video for that 50th anniversary, but they decided to hold off, make it a full documentary, and then release it in the theaters instead. Which it gave it some decent polish there. But yeah, the idea that you would see like Lorne being angry about a sketch not working or something like that. Nobody had really seen that. I don't think that wasn't even in any of those documentaries either. But you would hear about it. You would hear about it from other cast members and stuff, but you would never actually see it, with a camera on them or anything like that. So yeah, I found that to be eminently fascinating.
Right, I agree, and just kind of calmly, quietly, gingerly walking back behind that bleachers. You don't slow down, you don't stop, but what's happening right there. And and like just getting to listen to the read-throughs on Wednesday. These were all the things that it was like I could have gone home hours ago. I'm like, are you kidding? No, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to listen. But
absolutely.
So Brody, that was something that you felt like we hadn't actually at least seen before. Was there anything else of kind of Lorne in action, Lorne in the process of basically doing Saturday Night Live, making the show that jumped out at you from the documentary?
Yeah. So in addition to Under the Bleachers, which I found fascinating, where he's like, hold the camera for a second longer, do a look at the camera, like the way he nitpicked comedy, like a science as a comedy writer, I was fascinated by it. Like, because I've done that with like parody singers and voiceover people, but nothing on that scale. And it was just like, it was just like, oh my God, it was like watching, the sausage being made. Fantastic. I did like when they were sitting in his office, I guess, and they were just making people, you had to make people laugh, right? When they all sat around and they're like, the cast had to make everyone laugh.
The Monday morning pitch or the Monday afternoon pitch, I should say. Yeah.
Right. The Monday pitch, the whole camaraderie, the way he made people feel part of it. He humanized, but he made it like a team. And the way it was shot, I felt like I was in the room, and it's always been my dream to be in that room, to be part of that staff, to be part of that creative process. And I loved being part of that. Like it made me feel like you could be part of it, right? Like you could be, he invited some of the cast members to dinner, not just Kenan Thompson, who's been there for 30 years, but I think Sarah Sherman went to he had like the people that I would call like the third tier people were going to dinner. It wasn't like the elite people, like just Steve Martin. He was inviting other people. And I kind of like, that seems normal to me. Sure. Yeah. That I like that. So as much as Lorne is up here for all of us, there's a human element to, now look, you don't want to cross him. You don't want to like F up, but watching him interact with everyone, like just doing improv and hanging out and making everybody laugh. And it was just a warm side of him that you rarely see, because he's so guarded and robot-like when you see him on television during the show.
Yeah, and I think that, again, this showbiz side of him is largely separate from the human, the man himself. But one of the things that I found to be, very endearing was John Mulaney talking about when he was in rehab and Lorne called, and John
Yeah.
wasn't on the show anymore, and
Mm.
and he's just like, I want to talk about anything but this, and then Lorne goes into how Peacock messed up something with their carriage, or it'd be something very technical, and I was like, yeah, that's kind of sounds like what I would when I'm like, I don't want to talk about what's really happening. Oh, okay, well, yeah, let's talk about Peacock, and I thought that was that was kind of a fun one. And I had heard before how hard he was hit by when Chris Farley died, because it was only a few months earlier that he guest hosted, and that's a pretty rough show because you can see that this guy is not taking care of himself. And I loved seeing Norm again. I mean, there's a little part about Norm, and it's interesting because there's kind of that narrative that Don Ohlmeyer kind of bullied SNL into taking taking Norm off a Weekend Update. But I mean, even in 1998, when this happened, I was like,
That was 95.
no, if Lorne, it was 1998 when Norm gets fired from Weekend Update in the beginning in January, because it was the first week I was an intern. That's how I know.
Gotcha.
It was
Of
Colin's
course.
first show on Weekend Update. But and then again, people often forget that Norm was still on the show for like 2 more months.
Right. I'm sorry. You're correct. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was still on the show, just not a Weekend Update. Yes.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, but it's okay.
Yeah, sorry.
And but what I always said was, if Lorne really wanted him still at that desk and he wanted Jim Downey to be doing Weekend Update, he would have been. But I think he was like, yeah, it's probably time for a change, because I loved Norm there, and people talk about it now, but I mean, watch some of those shows, listen to the crowd. They're not in love with the jokes there. And I do know that season they started tinkering with the show. They moved Update around a little bit. They would have the musical guest only do one song because the ratings started to crater after midnight. Again, 11 p.m. Central. But, after the first half hour, and they were just trying to figure out what worked. And, so I think that the idea that he was beholden to anybody in 1998 is kind of crazy to me. But I don't know. That's just my own interpretation, my own feelings. Did you feel that? Well, anyway, what I'm saying, Brody, do you feel that it's accurate, or am I just projecting that Lorne should have propped up Norm a little bit better?
Oh, I agree. If Lorne is indeed as powerful as we always think he is, then he should have defended. No, and listen, the only thing I would say is if he personally went to Norm and said, Norm, I need you to, maybe you really should cut down the OJ jokes. And if Norm disobeyed Lorne, then I could see Lorne not backing him. Right? Wait a minute. I asked you, and you kept doing it. And maybe he's like, all right, well, no, I can't help you. There had to be more to the story, because it seems odd that Lorne wouldn't back him. And that it's just like, and I don't think Lorne would tell you that. I don't think Lorne would go in public and say, Lorne asked me to stop and I did, and I fucked over Lorne. But I think there has to be an angle to that story that we're not aware of, because it seems odd that Lorne wouldn't have gone to bat for him and say, no, I want him on that wall.
Yeah.
And, so I think maybe he crossed Lorne in some way, that he lost Lorne in his corner 100%, maybe.
Well, there was also one other thing. I remember that I believe it was an interview with Jim Downey, I believe, on like Dana Carvey and
Fly on the Wall.
Podcast.
Yeah.
Fly on the Wall. Thank you. Where he talked about that he realized that, or maybe it was on Conan's podcast. It was on a podcast, but he was saying that Norm was given the option to stay on Weekend Update, but Jim Downey would be fired. And so Norm did not want that to happen because he reveres Jim Downey, and so he decided to just step down from Weekend Update in order to save Jim Downey's job. I might be mistaken in this, but I do.
No, I think you might be right. I feel like I've heard Downey talk about that. And of course, if we're going to just quickly shout out Jim Downey on Conan's podcast, everyone needs to find that just for the Jeff Epstein, the financier. Yeah. But I mean, listen, that guy, I mean, the crazy thing about Jim Downey is, one, he used to share an office with Bill Murray. and
Mhm.
all of the good political presidential sketches from 1976 through at least 2000, and then some of the later ones too. I think he even did the Sarah Palin ones, but he did all of them. I was told there would be no math on through to Lockbox and all of that. Strategery, yeah. And so, yeah, I can. That actually does make sense, but Lorne eventually had to let him out of his contract, but when Lorne does have a problem, he takes care of it because, we showed this cast photo from 1985. Not there yet. Not only Dennis Miller, but Damon Wayans was a performer. But I think he said that he had trouble reading the cue cards, and that's the reason why. I'm not putting words into his mouth. So he would improvise, and it's like the one role of the show is that you can't do that. So he got fired, and then yet he's in like the last episode of the season doing stand up. So what a mess that year was. So when he wants somebody gone, they're gone. And like how Chris Parnell got fired a couple of times from the show.
Yes.
But
he wasn't
anyway,
even in the documentary except as the narrator, but
yeah. So I think that this documentary has like a very narrow appeal. SNL nerds like the three of us you see, and a few other people that I know, it's really who it's for. I don't know that somebody who has let's put it this way. I don't think my wife would love. She'd probably fall asleep during it. She'd find parts of it interesting, but it's like they're still talking about Saturday Night Live. Okay. Oh, Wayne's World. Oh, we're back to Saturday Night Live now. Okay, cool. So, but I enjoy it. I recommend it. If you're watching or listening to this podcast, I think you would enjoy it. I would say that people should check it out. It was fairly quickly streaming. I appreciated seeing it in the theater on the big screen.
Can
laughing with other people and everything. Yeah.
Yes, sir, Mr.
Can
Brody.
I wanted to tell you about the audience, the crowd when I went to see
please do.
Yeah. So I went with my friend Jeff, and he went to get popcorn. And so I went to my seat. And when Jeff came in, he doubled the size of the audience.
No. Yeah.
A lot of you aren't mathematicians. I don't want to confuse people.
You could characterize the audience I saw it with as the Dirty Dozen. I think that's about how many of us there were. But yeah, again, it's a niche film with a narrow appeal. And I don't think that they were looking, I don't think they were going to be able to tell a broader story than that. I find Lorne Michaels to be a fascinating person. I was in an elevator with him once, and I'm surprised I didn't shit myself. He asked me what time it was, and somehow I fucked up that answer.
Oh, jeez.
No, I don't usually talk about it because I start sweating just thinking about what that was like.
What did you do?
So the SNL offices are on the 17th floor. To go down to the studio, you had to cross over on the 14th floor. And I'm sorry that I'm getting down in the weeds, but it's imperative to the story. So I've switched at the 14th floor after waiting for it, and then I'm going down to 8. And before the door closes, I hear, "Hold the door." And I'm like, "Oh no, I know who that is. Fuck. I'm not gonna not hold it because he might have seen who it was." So I did it, and I was just like, "Don't look at him! Don't look at him!" Fuck! I looked at him. I didn't stare at him, but I tell you, it was. I stood in front of President Clinton once. This was way more stressful than that because President Clinton was. I knew he wasn't interested in me because I didn't have a beret on. Thank you.
That's a bell. There you go. Thank you.
Christian, I've pissed off in an elevator and by an elevator 2 members of Saturday Night Live cast members, 2 members of the show at different times. I know I've told you about the Jim Belushi one, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Now, did I tell you how I pissed off Ellen Cleghorn in an elevator?
I heard the story, but I don't know if
I think you did. No, no, there's an Ellen Cleghorn story that I can't tell, but I think I told it to you guys last time. I'm sorry that I can't tell it. I apologize to the audience. I really can't.
Oh, then it's possible. You did tell me off air. You can't tell that story.
No, I can't tell that story.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
because of my Ellen Cleghorn story that you told me that story off air.
But do you want to just can you summarize it for our audience because you brought it up?
Yeah. So I had gone to the taping of Conan O'Brien, I think, in 1993. And if I didn't tell you my Matt Lauer story, I'll tell you that another time. But my Matt Lauer story had just
I hope he
happened.
didn't lock the door while you were in his office.
No, this is way before that. So I had seen Ellen Cleghorn be interviewed a day or maybe the day before on the Today Show or some show. She was interviewed the day before this elevator incident happened. And she said, I'm not really well known on the show and people don't know my name. And when they see me, they go, hey, aren't you the black girl from SNL? And she goes, I've learned to laugh about it, but I wish people would know my name. So the next day, I'm riding down the elevator from the Conan taping, and I just had a Matt Lauer incident, and I'm on the elevator, and Ellen Cleghorn gets on the elevator. So I'm saying to myself, I got to say it. I got to say it. So I go, hey, aren't you the black girl from SNL? And I say it in such a way. That's great. I say it in such a way that it's obvious I'm playing into the thing she said yesterday. And she looks at me because she said yesterday, she laughs when people do it. She went, no, my name's Ellen. And she got off the elevator. She was not happy with me.
Yeah.
And here I was playing into the thing she said. I thought she'd know. I was like, no, your name's Ellen. I know. Too late.
Was this the moment where you learned that a lot of what's said on talk shows isn't true?
Yes, that's correct.
A lot of these anecdotes happen. Yeah. I remember hearing Patrick Stewart tell the same story about driving with the parking brake on two different talk show appearances 2 years apart. I'm like, I don't think that just happened, Sir Patrick. But, hey, make it so. Make it so you got another story. We're having fun here.
Find a story that can engage me.
I mean, if we're making Star Trek puns.
Absolutely.
My friend Chip Chipperson would say, all right, go ahead. Your top 20 Star Trek puns. You first, Brody. No, but we won't actually do that. So listen, I want to talk about a couple other things. I want to talk about kind of, there's rumors swirling that season 51 of SNL could have been Lorne Michaels' last. The timing of this documentary having Paul McCartney warble 3 songs on the final show instead of just the usual 2. That sort of a thing. I feel like we'd know if he was done, but I don't think that the people around him would let him just right off into the sunset. I expect him to be back next year, but I'll ask you first, Farhad. Do you think that perhaps this might have been the moment where Lorne could walk away from the show again and then come back in 5 years when he's 90?
Right. No, I don't see it. No, I feel that, Lorne will leave on his own terms, and that if people are really looking into, like, there's another song, or it was like, the lyrics of the song, the fact that Lorne's title was on longer than usual. I mean, his title is on longer than most of everybody else's title credits anyway. But no, I think that overall that none of that will intimate as to whether or not he will leave. I think what will decide whether or not he will leave is Lorne himself, and he'll probably make some sort of announcement or something like that. But he's always said that he'll host a show until it stops being fun anymore, or until he's just not able to do it. And it doesn't seem like he is. It doesn't seem like he's not able to do it, which is a double negative. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I think that he still finds it engaging. He's still doing the table reads, which is brilliant. I remember when Dana Carvey was talking about how he would write this character like Little Mr. Poopy Head or something like that, so that he could be able to have Lorne say, "Little Mr. Poopy Head went to the door," or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's still doing the stage.
Little Mr. Poopy Head takes a break. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, his voice is a little bit lower and stuff. But sometimes hear like exterior, high school, Sarah Keenan and so forth. And so he's still doing it. And they like try to calculate how many sketches he did the stage directions for and everything. It's very, very hilarious. But no, I think that he's still. He is still able to he is able to get to the point where I'm really introducing the sentence way too much, but
that's okay.
He is able to do this show at his age and still have it to be run as smoothly as possible. I mean, yeah, there's still some instances where sketches don't work or something like that, but he doesn't seem to be missing a step. It's not like he's not. He seems that he definitely has all of his mental faculties and stuff. So I think that he'll keep doing it until either he announces that he's leaving or until he dies. So either one is going to be.
I agree. What do you think, Brody? Do you think that there's a chance that he's done and he left in this way?
No, I think you would have had major hitters come back on the show this season.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tina Fey would have been a more present figure. I think, you did have a big guest in the finale, right? You had Will Ferrell, wasn't he the host?
He was the host, though. But I know what you're saying. Yeah, you would think his last show, like.
Right, it'd be a big deal.
Plus, yeah,
right.
I think
the only cameo would not have been from Molly Shannon. Yeah, I guess
that's fair.
Right.
Yeah.
Personally, if it's me, I fire Jane Wickline and Tommy Brennan before I step down as executive producer of the show. There's people that need to be gotten rid of, and those are two people that need to be gotten rid of. No, I don't think he's. I think maybe next season he Aaron Rodgers it and announces it's his final season, to get the headlines.
Yeah,
but I don't know if he wants a whole year of speculation about who's going to replace him.
Right.
That's a great point. If he does step down, whether it's next year or whatever, do they say and taking over will be whether it's Seth Meyers, Tina Fey, possibly both? I mean, it's a lot.
I don't see Kenan Thompson taking on the role.
I mean, Keenan's been there more than. I think Keenan could get to a point where he's there more years than Lorne. At some point. But yeah, I think that that's sort of the interesting thing, and I think you don't want that speculation. And it could be Brody like Cal Ripken. Every time he went into a city for the last time, they gave him like a seat from that stadium, and it's like, what am I going to do with these? So I don't know. I don't quite know what that's going to be like for Lorne. So
not to mention, I mean, he's executive producing SNL UK as well. So I don't know why he would just do that for one season or something like that there. So
that's fair, but I don't. Yeah, I wonder how hands on that is. I think that especially launching Zoom. It, he was involved. Yeah, but I think it's Zoom. We're talking about the.
I am watching that, by the way. I don't know if you're watching.
I haven't seen that many of them. I saw the Tina Fey one, I feel like when the crowd's laughing, and I think this about a lot of British comedy. If the crowd's laughing hysterically and I have no idea what they're talking about, I'm like, they must be doing something really good for the local audience. Yeah. Although we're not supposed to get everything,
Right.
That's why
go ahead.
That's why they thought Monty Python wouldn't play in the U.S. because they thought it was too inside. What were you going to say, Brody?
I would say I get about 80% a Weekend Update.
Yeah.
They made a joke on the finale because I watched the finale last night where they made a comment about at least the police paying attention to the munters. I'm like, what the hell's a munter? I had to look it up. It means an ugly person. You're like, so I was okay.
Can you even say munters on television? I don't even know.
No, you can't call a woman. You can't call a woman a munt.
They do drop the C word on that show. Yeah, I mean,
they've done it. Yeah,
I mean, that's basically
they drop F-bombs. I mean, they do curse. It's almost beat for beat SNL with the interstitial videos and the celebrity artwork and the artists, and it's very, very similar. But a lot of the celebrity guests, I don't know who they are. They're British singers and performers.
Right. If Mr. Bean's not on, you're not going to know who it is. Yeah.
But that sketch in the first episode where it was the people who are. It's their job to move things online as you're about to click them and move them over, so you miss them. That was a brilliant sketch. Love that, and that translated perfectly. So,
as we talk about the season 51 finale of Saturday Night Live, for another show that I host called Who Are These Broadcasters, which is Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. I do that with my buddy Eric Zane. I wanted to make a point. It's very mean, something that I did, but I isolated some audio that we talked about.
Stuck inside these four walls, sent inside forever.
Oh, jeez.
Paul McCartney doing the beginning of Band on the Run.
Nice again, like you.
All right. Now, I love the Beatles. I love Paul McCartney. I saw him about 6 weeks ago, 1,200 seat venue here in Los Angeles. It was amazing. I couldn't believe I got a ticket. I had to pay for it, but that's not the point. I couldn't believe I got one. It was fantastic in the room. I don't know if he should be on television anymore, though, because that's the second time now where you hear him and you go, oh, Paul,
Okay.
what are you doing?
But you've heard
he
the
was on
isolated audio of his wife,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's the
Yeah.
classic isolated audio. He
Yeah.
sounded better than she did.
He sounded better than Linda, yes, especially now.
Yes.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh,
on.
jeez.
He takes better pictures than her, too. Come on, we're having fun, Farad. You know, come on. What are we doing here?
Hey, his new wife has the leg up on his old wife, so you got that going for you.
Oh my God.
Farad's like, hey, too soon.
Did that stump you?
I'm pretty sure they divorced since then.
I do
but
believe,
yes.
yeah, I do believe that.
Well, it was,
Yeah, I think
it was yet another separation for her.
that
Oh God.
that was the wife that I remember he was on with Howard Stern talking about how in love he was, and Howard was like, "You're going to sign a prenup," and he's like, "No, why would I? I'm in love." And he's like, "Paul, because you're so I don't think he signed a prenup."
No.
I know. You can't blame Michael Jackson for taking your money in that case.
Yeah, but you know what? I think she only gets half. That's right. Yeah, I think she only gets half of what he earned during their marriage, so she doesn't get back catalog money
She only gets
Right, yeah.
she gets one leg of the
of the tour. Yeah,
Of the tour, yes. Jeez.
turns out he was a thigh
Thank you.
man.
I only had
one
the first
thigh
part.
man.
Yeah. So the other thing I want to talk about is bro, you're wearing the shirt. The
I'm
late
wearing the shirt
show
underneath,
ended.
actually. Yes.
The late show ended, and obviously that's not the Tonight Show. That doesn't have the legacy, but the Late Show was on CBS for 33 years, which is an incredible run. Obviously, first with David Letterman, and I know Farad, you much more partial to the David Letterman of it. And I'm not here to disparage Stephen Colbert. I just didn't watch his show. I liked his character on Comedy Central. I didn't find myself engaged by the real guy on the show. I'd see clips that would be good. I'm not going to lie. I would see clips that were terrible as well. Same for Kimmel. Same for Fallon. I see good clips and I also see bad. So I am assuming that he did a good show, because Brody, you watched his show like clockwork. You watched it like every night. Yeah.
Every
So-
I
single
would watch
night.
monologues. Yeah, myself. Yeah.
So talk about what the show was to you, what you felt like. Listen, you come in and you replace David Letterman. Not everybody can do it. Apparently just Conan and Colbert are the only people who can replace Letterman. So what did you think? He did it for a little bit more than 10 years, right?
Yeah, he came on in 15.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, I would tell you that there was a period of time, maybe 2017 to 2020, that was uneven. There was some uneven episodes. The writing was uneven. The guest booking was uneven. He went through a period of time where he did a monologue, then the opening credits, then more monologue, then he talked to the band. It was very awkward. The show did not start well. And then they hired Chris Long, forget his name. He was the executive producer from the CBS morning show. And then he's the guy that went on to work at CNN and got fired for destroying the network. But he revolutionized Chris Licht. He revolutionized Colbert's show, I want to say in 2020, maybe.
Okay.
And streamlined the monologue, streamlined the guests, reformatted the show, and it was night and day what the show was. They got rid of the long opening, changed the whole look of the show as far as the packaging of it. And from that point on, it took off. There was more sharp humor. It was definitely more political, which I loved. More sarcasm. And he proved to be a much better interviewer than you would have thought. He was very, very knowledgeable, very worldly. He knew art. He knew poetry. He knew the Bible. He knew the history of radio, the history of television, whatever the guests would come on. The way that Jon Stewart talks to political figures on The Daily Show, and he does a 45-minute interview, and you're like, how does he know all this? The way that Fallon is the worst interviewer in the history of late night talk shows.
It's fair.
Colbert, and the same way Howard is on radio, Colbert did that kind of above everyone else kind of interview, where he made them say things. He made them do things. He made out with guests on the show, male and female.
Yeah, I mean, just the other night he kissed Pedro Pascal. So.
He also kissed Fallon during the Strike Force 5 segment.
True,
Yeah.
he did. Yeah.
He made out with Andrew Garfield. He made out with Helen Mirren. He made out with Sally Field. But he did it for the humor of it. There was nothing he wouldn't do for the show. Some of his comedy bits were maybe one or two times great, and then back at like the confessions thing kind of ran out of steam. The magic hat thing ran out of steam. But the last 4 or 5 years, every bit nailed it. Even giving away puppies from the North Shore Animal League, trying to get them adopted. He had celebrities do it with him. He made it entertaining and fun. And you could tell that it's a different vibe when the guests go on Fallon and the guests go on Kimmel. The guests came on as fans of Colbert. They came on to like, I'm so glad to be here. I love you. They came, I can't believe you're being canceled in 9 months. There was such a different vibe on that show, and the theater and how it looked. And the band, it was just so much different. Kimmel does a great monologue. His guests are always subpar. They're very LA, and the set is kind of boring. His bits are good occasionally. Fallon is a train wreck. And so for me, Colbert was everything you'd want someone who replaced Letterman to be. And I'm someone that loves Letterman since 1982. He signed on, February 2nd, I think, in 1982. Yeah. I birthday's April 12th. I love David Letterman. I love David Letterman, and I didn't think anyone could ever replace him.
And
Letterman,
to the point on Letterman, it's I have all the understanding of the legacy and the legend of Carson, and I'm not here to disparage Carson, but I didn't watch Carson. Letterman was the guy for me, and I'll see those like Carson comedy classics from the 70s, and they're hysterical and all that. Don Rickles breaking his cigarette box, all this stuff, like all that stuff I've seen, but I didn't know it when it was happening. So I'm with you on Letterman. And, I think that just his taking over a late night show happens at a time where I am not up for late night. I've said this before. The only reason I can still watch Saturday Night Live is because it comes on at 8:30 here on the West Coast. You know what I'm talking about, But so you feel like the last few years it was hitting on all cylinders. I want to because I have it from my other show. We can take a look at something that was just referenced.
Out with the guest on camera.
Oh.
Steven holds up a picture of himself. Kimmel holds up himself, and Oliver holds up all
How many
three.
of you have made out with a guest on camera?
Why would you look at me like that?
Because I think you've made out with guests on camera.
No, I think you just wanted to make out with me.
I think I saw some tongue there. I don't know.
that's my guy.
After listening to Strike Force 5, I really adore the antagonists of that Colbert, that John Oliver has for Fallon at times.
By the way, someone I haven't seen in the chat in a while, Roz JD, mentions, how do I get the Monroe Public Access? You can just find it. It's on Colbert's YouTube channel. He has his own YouTube channel.
Yeah, like youtube.com/
and so
Colbert.
Yeah, a lot of people feel like, it was getting taken down by CBS. I guess it's because it's on his YouTube channel. Whatever, you can see it is the point. So just because somebody asked, I think that's because he did that right before he started. So he did that like the night after his show ended. I think that is actually a very funny thing to do a public access show.
It's a lovely bookend. Yeah.
Huge.
Well, it's a bookend, right, to what he did in 2015. So
yeah.
And that was another recurring bit that was very funny on his show, where he would have celebrities do the public events. The community calendar was a great bit. So,
especially with like the 80s video effects. And
the terrible
and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So obviously the the conventional wisdom is that Colbert show ends because of this this merger that was very important for Paramount, for the behind the scenes, because what he had to say about the president. We obviously, that stuff's all fairly well documented on record, and some people can disagree. I do believe that the show was incredibly expensive, because you see, there's that photo from the last day, the staff of hundreds and hundreds of people they had. And I know these shows don't make money the way they used to. I'm not saying that he lost whatever it is, $40 million, whatever was claimed. I don't, because something's coming in, whether you make less money than Letterman did in 1993, you're still making money. You're CBS, people, you have that demographic of all the networks where people are watching from 8 o'clock through the evening news, and the TV's still on, maybe because they fell asleep, maybe because they've fallen and they can't get up. I'm not sure why, but the TV's still on. CBS is the network that I think more than any other, it's people have the brand loyalty. They feel like they speak to them. And I do think he was on for more than a decade. He connected with people. So I think that the show was expensive. I don't know if they talked about, hey, let's do, X number weeks less. And I think if the political aspect of it, the trying to get the deal approved aspect doesn't happen, maybe that is what happens. Hey, how about you do, 3 shows a week, and, you take off twice as many weeks, whatever, because SNL did that
something to minimize the cost. Yeah.
I think SNL shaved
for,
SNL shaved an episode or 2 at one point in the last 15 years because they wanted to cut the budget. And he's like, I can't cut the budget for the show. That's what the show is. And he's like, well, what if you do less episodes? So I was like, all right, we'll do that. And then eventually they went back to making more. So I understand the reality of it. But Brody, is that just an excuse, you think?
Oh, I'll tell you why it's an excuse. First of all, he had gone off the air for a week. He was sick, and then he came back. And he had a beard, and he had to shave his beard. I remember that episode. And he came back and he did a joke about Paramount. And he said that there was some penalty. And he said, it wasn't a penalty. It was a bribe. Because Paramount took a big fat bribe. And it was a funny bit. And I went like this. He just got fired.
Oh, jeez.
God's honest, because I knew about the merger. I know that, I knew what was going on, but you can't make that joke.
Yeah.
And I went, oh God, no. Oh, please don't let that nobody hear that. And I knew that was the death knell, because he shined a light on the, on the scam, right? He sprayed it with disinfectant. The roaches started running when he put the lights on, and you can't make that joke. And I would say if he didn't make that joke, maybe he has his job. Now, obviously, the Ellison dirtbags wanted the Skydance merger, and obviously, without getting political, we'll just call him the Orange Nazi. He doesn't have a sense of humor. In fact,
no.
Earlier,
wait, we don't talk. I'm sorry, we don't talk about Garfield like that on this show.
I'm so sorry.
Listen, he's changed his ways. Okay,
a couple of days
he
ago,
hates Mondays and the children,
and he loves lasagna, though. I will tell you, we'll call him Garfield, and maybe the same thing that happened to President Garfield. Okay.
All right.
So
See, now that YouTube terms of service, what he's saying is a joke. You're talking about
President Garfield is a great man.
I was actually thinking of Taft, who was the one who was so fat he couldn't get out of his bathtub.
Really?
I think I was thinking that was.
Okay.
I think that was.
Isn't it great that Taft has?
That's what I think you meant
name?
to say.
Yes, Taft has fat in his name. Okay, so that being said, a certain president sent out a post this week saying how Seth Meyers is untalented and should be fired by NBC immediately. And then the chairman of the FCC retweeted it.
Yeah.
That is a problem for me. That now, so if Seth Meyers gets fired, don't tell me his show is too expensive, right? The proof is there.
It's not.
Now, in terms of $40 million, let's say Colbert's show lost $40 million. First of all, there's better ways to handle a budget issue than to fire the show, right? You could move it to a less expensive theater if you had to.
Exactly.
You could, you could get rid of the band the way Seth Meyers did if you had to. There's ways to, right? Okay. But now look, what is the purpose of a late night talk show? Yes, it's to entertain, and yes, it's to get viewers and ratings. But what's the number one job of a late night talk show on a network to promote
It's
the
to
network
promote
property,
stuff.
Yeah.
right?
Synergy.
It's
Yeah.
to promote all the CSIs and all the
And
Chicago's
CIS. Yeah.
and all the Paramount shows and Paramount streaming and Paramount movies. And if you look and you go, did Colbert promote CBS Paramount? Did he give them marketing worth $40 million? Yeah, he certainly did. So don't talk to me about $40 million to Skydance is wipe your butt money. So to say I canceled the show because it lost $40 million when its job is to promote your network, and he does that, then you just paid $40 million for marketing. Stop it.
I'll say,
You're being
Go
ridiculous.
ahead, Farad.
I'll say this about the Skydance thing. Paramount Skydance just spent $81 billion in order to move forward purchasing Warner Brothers. $81 billion. If they were able to use that money in order to pay for the annual losses of the Late Show, that would cover the Late Show for about 2,025 years. There is no reason. Right? I mean, Paramount Global, from what I understand, I might be wrong in this, I think they made like $24 billion a year. If they lost 40 million, that is 0.2% of its annual revenue. I mean, it's like $40 million does sound like a lot of money, and for most people and for most companies, I'm sure it is. But for a conglomerate like Paramount, it's practically a couch under the cushion money. I mean,
it's the catering budget for Skydance.
Yeah, and
I'm sure some of their movies would love to lose only $40 million. You know, it's like.
And by the way, I know the Chicago shows are on NBC. I was on a roll. But I have to imagine.
But listen, it's same thing for all those networks. You know what I mean?
I have to believe there's a CBS show that's on right now that's been renewed that either doesn't make as much money as Colbert did and have value to the network in promoting its property, or loses, let's say, 20 million and doesn't market the shows on the network. There's other things they could have cut back if they really needed the 40 million. They didn't need the 40 million. They needed the merger. And the merger happened because they kowtowed the same way Kimmel was suspended for a few days, but Disney stood up, and Paramount is the company that was doing the bribing. So that's not the company that's going to stand up. So if there was and then to hire Barry Weiss, I mean, the whole thing's going to hell.
Oh yeah. Listen, the CBS Evening News is
a joke.
A podcast for another time. Every week on Who Are These Broadcasters, I have to dust off yet another clip that's just preposterous.
Did you at least talk about the Taiwan broadcast?
where somebody,
where they couldn't get him a visa to cover the president going to China, so he had to broadcast and report from Taiwan because CBS didn't get him couldn't get his passport approved.
I actually thought you were talking about a different thing that happened as a result of that. But there's something you may not know about Tony DeCopel, who is the anchor of the CBS Evening News. I'm going to let him tell you about it. I'm going to let him tell you about it.
Colorado is getting hit with an unusually heavy amount of snow for this time of year, and tonight's baseball game between the Rockies and my New York Mets is postponed, likely delaying another Mets loss as Denver is under a winter storm warning.
So does it make the Mets season even worse? The fact that Tony DeCopel is a Mets fan?
The only thing worse than that is what happened last night with John Oliver. Did you see that?
That John Oliver went to an Orioles game because people I'd wear the Orioles hat too if I got invited.
Yeah, I know, but the internet thinks he's an Orioles fan now, which it can't happen. It can't.
So you talked about Taiwan, and I know we're mostly talking about late night, but because it came up, I thought you were talking about this is something that happened when they were doing the news from Taiwan.
And finally tonight from Taiwan, as President Trump and China prepare to meet, you will hear a lot about American decline and the rise of a powerful new China. The Chinese certainly, is he okay? We're going to take a quick break. We have a medical emergency here.
Okay.
Well, the clip is still playing.
The clip is still playing. He's like, is he okay? So he was ending the newscast. So he says, we're going to take a quick break. You just said our final story. So he's not prepared, but don't worry. He's not the only one. Don't worry. We'll get there.
We're calling a doctor.
Jeez.
Okay. So back to the broadcast center.
So I'm going to sign off for Tony DeCopo, who's.
So meanwhile, this guy with the perfectly coiffed hair and the suit,
He was waiting in the wings.
He's apparently just sitting at the desk. I don't know who this guy is. Probably will never see him again. But wait, remember how we talked about how this is the end of the show?
Yeah.
So I'm going to sign off for Tony DeCopo, who's been reporting in Taiwan. We're going to go to break. We'll be right back.
No, you won't. No, you said that was the last segment of the show, dum dum. So now they have to play, and they have to really let it play.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Anyway,
so Tony was in Taiwan because he couldn't get into China.
Right.
One of the major 3 to 4 networks, they couldn't get their reporter in because they didn't clear him in time. It's embarrassing. The whole network is just a joke.
What I think is that the way these events have unfolded is probably good things for Jimmy Kimmel, who once he came back from the brief suspension, pretty sure Disney's like, all right, we've kind of, this is the stance we're taking. We kind of can't budge from it. If Seth Meyers ever gets fired for this reason, it always goes back to just the amazing night he and Obama had at the 2011 White House Correspondents' Dinner, where they just demolished Donald Trump. And apparently also Osama bin Laden was getting demolished at the same time. So it was a really historic night because just watch Seth from that night. And yes, and Obama, I know Obama doesn't write his jokes, but that motherfucker was so funny. That night, just talking right to Trump. I'm sorry, Brody.
No, Seth blames himself for us having a President Trump. He's convinced that that's when Trump realized to get revenge on Obama and Seth Meyers, he'd run for president.
I don't disagree. I can't say, we can't prove it, but I get it.
That's the possibility, realm of possibility now. But
but listen, I do think there could be no more talk shows, and not because of whoever the president is. I wonder about the future of the art form, the value of it. And listen, people don't throw stones at Byron Allen. He's just doing the same show he's always done, and he pays for his show. He gives them money. So yes, and I think jokes per minute, you're going to get that from Byron Allen. I know Lovitz used to do his show a lot. I can't say that I've seen a lot of it, but it's a bunch of comics sitting around. There's going to be plenty of jokes on there. And so it's kind of, to me, like, that's just like, okay, we're going to put something on that is comedic content in this time slot. To me, it's the reason why, like, Netflix never does more than 2 or 3 seasons of a show, because they're like, well, somebody wants it. They're going to watch the 20 that are up there, and it's good enough. You know what I mean? It's almost like what's the path of least resistance? Go ahead, Farad.
Yeah, the number of people that have signed up for Netflix that wanted to watch this particular show have managed to reach a plateau, so we're going to have to cancel it or something. It's a rather odd sort of streaming model, but yeah.
No, but I mean, I don't think that it's this year that they would all go away, and because Kimmel's a perfect example. You're having wall-to-wall promotion of Mandalorian and Grogu on that network. And, you can have people on his show. And yes, Pedro Pascal was on Colbert, but, it's not like Kimmel hasn't been promoting it, So, and, NBC's got Peacock, they've got Universal. So it is a means to an end. It's like how the networks would all air the Emmys at a loss because you're like promoting all of your new shows, and the Oscars is always a loss because you have like this captive audience. The Super Bowl kind of breaks that mold, but at the same time, it's like why like the halftime performers don't actually get paid, because you're like, but buy tickets for my tour that goes on sale on Tuesday, So there are these things where like you have the loss leader, you're willing to write down some of the money that you don't get because the value that you do get.
Yes.
And I think that, these shows need to be, I guess, honored appropriately. It's when you can win the Emmys and you can get the awards and the accolades, it helps. It's good for the parent company. But I don't know exactly what they're all looking for. I don't think these shows are going to go away tomorrow, but if we're sitting around 5 years from now talking about how there aren't any more late night shows, I can't say I'm shocked. I can't stay up and see them, but I think that most of the hosts are good at the thing that they do. I think that when Fallon started, he had like an energy for it that it doesn't seem to be there anymore. And I didn't appreciate like, oh, let's have a pie eating contest with Tom Cruise. But I understood that like, oh, that's kind of absurd that it's on TV. There's an audience for that. I don't know if there's an audience for what he does anymore. He was very nice to me in 1998. So that's what I'll say about Jimmy Fallon.
I've met Jimmy a couple of 4 or 5 times, and he is an amazingly nice person and incredibly talented. And I think that show, more than the other 3, with Fallon, Seth Meyers included, has realized that the show makes its money off of clips. And Fallon's show is designed for clips. They crack eggs over each other's heads for clips. He does slow jam the news for clips. He does let me break down what happened this week in a 3-camera shot where he raps. It's for a clip. It's all for segmented, what can I break up for the internet? Whereas Colbert had clips, but was more long form.
It was.
To that point, Colbert's last episode, did you see the ratings for it? How many people watched?
I saw, was it 6 million?
6 million.
Yeah.
6 million. And as long as we have a need for people to vent against the man, late night talk shows will have a purpose and a reason to remain part of pop culture. And I think in 3 years, they'll stop being under the firing, on the firing line. So I think as long as they can survive the next 3 years, I think regime change will take the heat off them. But as long as there's whoever the man is, whoever the authority is, late night plays that role. And that's why I think SNL plays that role. So I don't think it's going away anytime soon. I think Colbert leaving, unless he lands at Netflix for a daily show again, Kimmel's ratings are going to go through the roof because the people that need that political edge are going to go to Kimmel, at least for the monologue, to get that anger out. And I think more people are going to find Seth Meyers because to me, it was Colbert and Seth with a tandem for me because they were the same tenor. And I think more people are going to look at Seth's monologue and a closer look to get that venom they needed. So I think it's going to help 2 of the shows. I don't know if it helps Fallon because I don't think Colbert's audience is going there, but
yeah, I mean, you're probably right about the future because if there's one thing we can predict is that President Vance is going to have a great sense of humor about himself and he's going to be able to laugh like no one else ever has.
All right. I think you need to couch that opinion.
That's nice. That's a good place. That's a good place to end it. I appreciate that. It's almost like we worked on that together. Brody.
I'm sorry. I should have tried to cushion the blow on that one. My mistake.
But in any event, and just to your point about those shows being clip worthy, if you talk about Kimmel, people will be like, I don't really watch his show. I don't like his politics. But what will they say? Oh my God, the celebrities reading mean tweets and when they steal the Halloween candy from kids. Yeah. Those are great.
And when they unnecessary censorship they do on Thursdays also. Terrific.
Exactly. All right, this made me laugh, JD. Yes, sorry, the Lord Loomer administration. My apologies. Look, we're having fun. That's what's going on. Anyway,
wasn't she the model for the Rolling Stones logo, by the way? I don't know if you were aware of that.
I think it might have been the logo for Petco, but unfortunately we are out of time. I have to apologize to the affiliates. We went over tonight. So I will
apologies to Matt Damon.
I'll send a fruit basket to our home office in Wahoo, Nebraska. We'll try to not do that again. And yes, of course, apologies to Matt Damon. And but
you should have stay up for Comics Unleashed coming up. Okay, never mind.
That's right. But if before our next episode of the Bladtcast, Farhad, where of course you are the voice of the Bladtcast, and we appreciate that very much. What is something you'd like people to know about? Where would you like people to go to if they want more Farhad Muhammad?
Well, I'm unfortunately very prolific on Threads. I'm kind of addicted to that app. So you can find me there at Farad Muhammad. That's spelled Fard Muhammad. I'm also on Instagram over there as well. And I'm not really doing anything in terms of like anything on screen just as of yet, but I'm working on it there. So yeah, those are like the major two right now.
And Brody, I regularly, you're on Marvel Movie Talk that I do for Geekscape. Sort of what I was talking about at the top of the show, that even when this show doesn't come out for a little while, I'm doing content all sorts of other places. That's one of them. Where else can you be found, sir?
You could find me on social media at David Brody, although I tend to stay away from Threads these days. I find it to be it gets me into fights, so I got to stay off it.
You're more of a Blue Sky guy, right?
I'm a Blue Sky guy. Yeah, I'm also more of a Twitter.
Mr. Blue Sky, I think that's what they call you.
Or as I see older people on the news say, Blueski.
Blueski,
yeah, Blueski.
That's
find me at David Brody on most social media. Yeah. But of course, find me on the Brooklyn Boys podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. 2 episodes a week, everybody.
And I think you and I will be talking Mandalorian and Grogu soon. And when we do that episode, I will say, Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why you had to hide away for so long. Where did you go wrong? So long. And me. Oh my gosh. Where can you find me? On social media,
everywhere,
including Threads, but also Blue Sky. I don't do much on those, but at Christian DMZ. And you can find me in those places. And of course, like and subscribe to the Bladtcast, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to the audio version. We've got an avalanche of things coming your way very soon, so you don't want to miss any of it. And as I mentioned earlier, the show that I host with Eric Zane, Tuesdays, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, on the Who Are These Podcasts YouTube channel. Who Are These Broadcasters, which also exists as its own audio podcast. That is all the time we have for now. And as our radio voice, as our announcer voice will say in a moment, Farad Muhammad will say, we'll see you next time on the Bladtcast.
We'll see you next time on the Bladtcast.